Fox Middle. They've taken Weaver High School. We have nothing. You understand? And I understand that, you know what I mean, you guys from the middle with Rawson, they have a beautiful school, but the kids on the other ends are getting taken advantage of.
I'm glad you brought that.
And I want my son to be the first one to come back to Weaver High School. Next
So,
thing you know-
so I'm glad, Tom, that they actually brought money back here for a neighborhood school. And I agree with you 100%. One of the challenges we face, as far as North Hartford is concerned, is the disinvestment in our neighborhood schools, our traditional neighborhood schools. And people talk about a food desert where there are not enough grocery stores with fresh vegetables. But what we're seeing right now is an education desert where we don't have opportunities, exactly what you're talking about, Lionel. I agree with you 100%. And that's what we need to make sure when we go to the Capitol. That's what we're talking about. That all these options and choices, that families who want to come here and live here and grow their families here, they don't have that. You go to the suburbs, they have those things. And we want to make sure that all families here in Hartford, especially in the 7th District, North Hartford, have those opportunities that they want to move here. They have good schools, quality schools that they can send their children to right down the street. And the most important thing about Weaver High School won't have the opportunity to flourish if we don't have neighborhood schools that feed into Weaver. And that's what we need to make sure that happens, that we have neighborhood schools that can feed into Weaver. But I agree with you 100%, Mike.
Would any other the candidates, yeah, you want to
Let me tell you that the Lighthouse School concept is a concept that I created at the General Assembly when I was there. When we were having the issue about Shepherd versus O'Neill and what to do with schools, my position was this: strengthen the neighborhood schools. So before you start sending our kids out, my concern was this: I believe that we have value in our community. I believe that our students are bright and have the energy to learn. And to me, they can learn in our community. Our students don't necessarily have to go outside our community to be in an integrated school system to learn. We have bright students, so we need to strengthen our schools here. So my concept was the Lighthouse Schools, and my concept was that let's strengthen the schools in the neighborhood and let's improve them. Rawson School particularly, if you remember, a few years ago was gonna close. And Annie Fisher was gonna close. And I was a legislator who fought to keep Rawson open because, as you know, if they close the school, the situation of them reopening becomes more difficult. And so you gotta understand what's the future like 3 or 4 years when they're thinking about closing the school. We fought very hard to keep Rawson open. We fought very hard to keep Annie Fisher open because after Rawson, they wanted to do the same thing with Annie Fisher. I was the representative there. We stopped those schools from being closed because we knew if you started that. I was a part of the legislature with Shepherd versus O'Neill. My solution to Shepherd versus O'Neill always have been strengthen neighborhood schools. The concept that our kids have to go out before you provide the educational parity, the good schools, the great teachers, the family involved in the neighborhood schools, you do that first before you send our kids out. So that's been my advocate. I retired as a school social worker. And so I spent a number of years in the correct system. And I agree with some things you said about crack. But this is what happens, is that we created magnet schools, we created charter schools, and we gave money for people to build new schools for their purposes and not our children's purposes. When we start focusing on the education of our children, when we work with parents to educate the parents to be involved with their children's education, when we provide programs in the neighborhood schools for families to learn, then our community changes. And that's what community empowerment is about. That's what educational empowerment is about. It's not necessarily that you get new schools, you get new money, you get new concepts that somebody else has, and then they don't involve you. We need to involve you in the education of our children in this community.